Welcome to this live premiere. Feel free to share your thoughts and opinions as we go throughout today. The key talking points, discussions, you can tell by the title of this video, partially including Bob Farrell being on the receiving end of TY Corbin with request for Dylan Round's face picture to be taken down from Bob's channel, I guess profile picture or channel art, for that to all go away. Bob Farrell recently resisting, I guess. And then also the other ongoing stuff, which, as you know, I predicted a while back now, over 1 year ago, with the drama evolving and escalating over time. We've looked at the patterns and the themes recently. Was it to do with loyalty, partially? Focusing more on forgiveness, how sometimes it does work, other times it doesn't, and makes you worse off. We did a video looking at it from the point of view of watcher of crazy, in her shoes, in her situation recently, and even looking at the perspective of Buster Bratimus from his perspective, right? Being cautious, being aware and alert of who is present and where else they go and what else they do behind the scenes. Trying to avoid, any more risk of stuff escalating. We've looked at strengths, we've looked at weaknesses, I've kept it balanced, but obviously some people out there only listen to the first few points of these videos and then walks off thinking that they've heard it all. But if you stick around long enough, you will understand these type of videos, okay? The purpose and reason as to why we're doing this theme and discussion today is partially because it is linked to the Dylan Rounds case, such as Bob Farrell, his coverage on it, TY Corbin getting involved, and the whole profile picture situation. So because of that, there's no harm in looking at it and trying to understand it from certain perspectives, because I think if it does tie to Justin Rounds with his request, it could be explained through the fake account, and we'll get into that later on, okay? As for the theme of taking sides, the importance of it for one person over the other, does it really matter at the end of the day? At times, yeah. Sometimes it's just good to know where you stand with people in general. That will be outlined and explained today. And I guess with a small example, and that's all. Dale, Matt Lingo, with what's supposedly gone on recently, that can be talked about. Mainly from my point of view and experience with those, right? Because they have been on my channel in the past during the days of Dylan Rounds, and they've been back and forth since. So I can at least share with you my thoughts and experience there, okay? So it is partially to do with Dylan Rounds' case, and as you know, I covered the Dylan Rounds case, and it's also to do with themes which I have predicted with time, hence why I'm talking about it now. And it also involves a few key individuals standing out in recent time, individuals that have been on my channel and I have seen their behavior. So it ticks all the boxes as for why I'm making this video. I guess it's time to get into it and explain. As said, for those that are currently watching, be sure to share your thoughts, experiences, reactions in the live chat box, right hand side of the screen. If you are if you are watching on catch up, you're watching this video later, be sure to leave your comments down below in the comment section. You'll also find some additional links there if you wish to check them out or if you want to support the channel. It's all there. As for my recent coverage, Kenny Veach, of course, but as well with the cough coming back again, last 2 days it's been shit, okay? And if I do anything like full on, a proper higher end video, it'll be ruined by this. I'm stepping back a little bit, and that's why I'm covering this, where it's more of a casual conversation, okay? The more important, serious stuff, to deliver that, I need to be on high performance, but I'm not at the moment with this really annoying cough. It's not serious, it's not harmful, it's just lingering, okay? It needs to go because it just ruins it all, and it does really annoy me. Because even making videos whilst talking, it's not as enjoyable because I can constantly feel it at the back and I'm trying to withhold it, and then eventually I've got to cough. If I cough too much, it'll only strain it, so I've got to try and hold myself back, and it's very annoying. But what I did find, ironically, the video I did yesterday, which was more of another casual conversation because of the cough, you would know from watching that video. Towards the very end, I didn't cough as much, I was okay, and it's like, why does my voice have to warm up 1 hour into the video? Why not before? You know, it's so annoying. I mean, what will I have to do in the future? Do I have to talk whilst the video's not recording? Talk for an hour straight, and then I've warmed up my voice, and then I hit the record button? It's so fucking stupid. I've had stuff like this before, but not for this long. So, doing all the right stuff, taking all the right things, but it's taken forever. I did hear recently that there's something called the 100-day cough, that you get a cough and it lasts for 100 days. I don't know if I've got that. I've not been keeping track of how long I've had the cough for, so I wouldn't be able to figure it out. But just I've got to keep continuing on, okay? Before we go any further, I just want to give shout out to Cleo for her recent support on the channel, of course, and also for her gifted memberships last night. Betty Hayward, Matt Lingo, and maybe somebody else were gifted memberships. We'll see if any of those people show up tonight. So Matt Lingo, I've got a feeling you may show up because of the topic and theme of this video. In advance, this video, which includes you and Dale, it's not in a negative way. Just understand that. You know, people may join, you know, this live premiere later on without the context of what's being said right now. So if anyone does throw their toys out the pram, can someone advise them to rewind back to the beginning just so they understand why this video has been made? That'll be appreciated, okay? As I said, based off from my experience, which can be different to others. We've talked about the themes of different encounters with one another. A person can have a negative outlook on somebody. Another individual can have a positive outlook on that somebody, right? But both individual experiences are true and correct, but they've only seen one side. Sometimes I see both sides, that's why I'm able to do what I do, okay? And detect and acknowledge stuff. So I think to kick things off, so it's relevant to the Dylan Rounds case, just want to mention a few pointers. I didn't think we needed to make a full dedicated video to it, but I can include it within here, okay? Because I'm sure a range of people are present and active, okay? So besides Bob Farrell and the Dylan Rounds profile picture and TY Corbin's presence recently, on the Find Dylan Rounds Facebook page, new items are going to be added to the Dylan Rounds Etsy store. That's been announced by Candice Cooley. I think it's more necklaces, bracelets and stuff like that, so be on the lookout for it. If at any point you're interested, just go on Etsy, type in Dylan Rounds or something, or go on the Facebook page and you'll find the link, and then feel free to check it out if you want to. What's the purpose and point of it? Well, what they've said, the family parents, is the proceeds, the money received, will be put towards those volunteer groups like the Canine Task Force unit and some others out there that have helped the family when searching for Dylan Rounds and have helped other people too, families with missing people. It has already been a success in the past when it's come to money being raised elsewhere, and maybe it will happen again. But as for like items and merch, that's I guess what you would call it, right? To get a hold of that, it's on the Etsy store, and I guess they are upgrading or just updating what's available to buy, okay? And maybe previous stuff that may go out of stock may be re-added into the future, right? So just wanted to let you know there, because that's the latest post by Candice Cooley with regards to Dylan Rounds' legacy. Now, the only other side piece, it's not so much tied to the Dylan Rounds case, but more so the Lance Kelly, TY Corbin situation, in which TY Corbin recently has come on out and made a public video explaining the situation with TY Corbin. As said, it's not worth me going too deep there because I'm not in a position to talk about it. But from what TY Corbin has supposedly said, Ty has highlighted that Lance, Kimber, the children have parted ways, and that some kind of, was it a restraining order or some kind of thing was issued legally because Lance's behaviour supposedly has been negative and controlling. TY Corbin saying that Lance said he was going to commit suicide or something at one point as a form of manipulation or control. All kinds of stuff going on in the background, right, supposedly. I said, we're not going to go any deeper there because I wouldn't know the full story, okay, because I'm not there and I don't really know Lance. Take this in mind. When it comes to the Dylan Rounds case, besides the other people and characters along the way, audience members or creators, I never really came across Lance Kelly. I think if I did leave comments, very few in the early days, okay? I don't think I did get a reply. And when I sent an email way back in the past, I didn't get a response either. So it was a bit quiet, okay? Lance Kelly never really visited my channel, as some of his supporters did, and bash me and very impetuous and whiny, but that's typical when it comes to humans coming towards me. It happens, okay? But aside from that, I don't really know the positives or negatives about Lance Kelly, so I can't even begin there when talking about it, okay? The only observation that I suggested was with a question. With his whole parting ways, what about when you look at Lance Kelly's channel, you look at his live streams from 4 to 6 months ago, however long ago it was, you see Lance Kelly by himself in a car or walking about. Does that correlate to the timing of when it all unfolded? I'm not too sure, because I just know in the past at one point when Lance parted ways with Ty, and Ty did the same, Lance then introduced his family more into his videos when searching for Dylan Rounds, etc. But obviously that's not happened since, so I'm just wondering timescale, is there a correlation there? If anyone knows, feel free to acknowledge. But the only other thing to highlight there, Lance Kelly has responded recently on his latest live stream. You can check it out for yourself if you want, if you go over to his channel, okay, Earthworm Infotainment. It was somebody else leaving a comment highlighting, have you heard about what's recently been said and what TY Corbin has pointed out? And obviously Lance Kelly's supporters were saying, oh, it's just a load of rubbish, it's a load of BS and lies. And then Lance Kelly did respond in the comment thread and said, I've been too busy to deal with fake BS, I'm doing my own thing, staying away from it. It was along the lines of that, okay? So how true is that? Is Lance Kelly being genuine and honest there, or is he just pushing away the dark truth? I don't know. Just let me know your thoughts on Lance Kelly's response, okay? At least from what I've heard of in the past, when it comes to the YouTube aspect, Lance Kelly didn't always rush to YouTube drama or responding back to it. He let it boil for some time, and then if it got too much, then he responded in a live stream interview or something. He has done that, right? Maybe when it came to the TY Corbin Lance Kelly situation, that's when Lance may have started responding more actively to the drama and the disagreements going on at the time and stuff. I do remember when Lance Kelly, whether it was an attempt or another reason, showing TY Corbin supposedly in a negative light, when Lance Kelly was showing footage of TY Corbin in their searches in the past, and Lance was showing it to the general public, I should say, of Ty's body language and behaviour, which could have been misinterpreted at the time. And I think that's what, I think one of the examples was where Lance Kelly was making it seem like TY Corbin was being nasty towards his own dog, but then TY Corbin recently explained, saying he was the way he was with his dog, telling the dog off when it got too close to holes in the ground, mine shafts, because he didn't want his dog getting hurt. So you've got to be a bit strict and stern when saying, hey, get back here now. You don't want to go down there, you don't want to get hurt. Sometimes if you raise your voice towards an animal, it will listen to you and follow your orders. So I do understand that. But, you know, at the time, whatever was going on, okay, Lance Kelly responding back, giving his own point of view. So as for the situation, right, with what we've heard of recently, the dirt has been revealed on Lance, but in the past, attempts were made for Lance to call out Ty Corbin and show material and footage which could be interpreted in different ways. So it's been a bit back and forth, just like any other situation on YouTube when it comes to drama, right? I'm not saying it's true, I'm not saying it's false, I'm just saying that it's back and forth. People have their moment to respond back with what they know, what they've learned, and what they have gathered, whether it be evidence, material, right? Ty Corbin, his statement on the situation with Lance Kelly will mainly be driven by the fact of location, knowing what's up, having contacts which may have informed him about situations, and some key individuals reaching out to him. Okay, I said, won't know the whole picture because I'm not going too deep and I've not looked too much. But, you know, I'm sure some people will be shocked at what's recently gone on, but then also others shocked at the drama that's gone on, but then some will be shocked at Ty Corbin for telling Bob Farrell to do this and to do that, and then there'll be other people shocked at why Matt, Lingo and Dale have been called out, and then others shocked that Matt, Dale and Lingo have done something or said something, right? There's a lot of shock all over the place, right? And it's just trying to clear it up, at least from what I'm aware of. Not everyone will agree with this video. Some people may not be bothered with it, but as I said, I'm doing it because there's reasons to do it. And with this cough, I don't want it to ruin proper, real, important, hard-hitting videos, right? So there is an order to how I do stuff, okay? But yeah, Lance Kelly's response recently to all these claims by Ty Corbin, what Ty knows of, well, basically it comes across as Lance has denied it all, that it's all BS, it's all a load of rubbish, and that's it. But that's only Lance Kelly speaking, right? What does Kimber have to say? Will there ever come a moment where she will step up and give her thoughts? And if she ever did, you know, where exactly on YouTube? Does she have her own channel or not? That's my question. And in reference to Earthworm Infotainment, is it only Lance Kelly that has access to that YouTube account? Or does Kimber? Does anyone know? Just out of interest. And maybe the only other question I would have, how long have people known Lance Kelly for Earthworm Infotainment, right? I think if you go on their channel, you do oldest videos, it might be 8-9 years ago. So they've been around on YouTube for a while. I know there was some comments by people at some point calling out Lance Kelly, him only, or the family too, for being in the city and doing negative stuff or exploiting things and then running away to the desert. Don't know what that was all about, okay? But I just remember a reference there by some people. If anyone does know, feel free to elaborate. It might make things a little bit clearer, okay? That said, you could say it's all deep-rooted back to the Dylan Rounds case because that's where all these people originate from, or that's where they all gathered at, and then how things escalated for numerous reasons and factors involved, okay? So, Ty Corbin has said what he said with what he supposedly knows, and Lance Kelly has responded to some of his audience members, and that's all it's been. Not much else has happened, okay? Will anything else happen in the future? I don't know, personally. You know, you can let me know your thoughts down below. I'm not going to make any predictions there because it's not really necessary, okay? The only other question I put out there previously was, would Lance Kelly return back to the Dylan Rounds case, return back to Lucin, Montello? I guess with what's gone on recently, probably not, okay? Because I think he'd be worse off if he did decide to return back because trouble that it could bring with what he supposedly has done, okay? So, I get that. But that aside, referring back to Ty Corbin and Bob Farrell, okay? So, how did they get together? Short story is, with what Ty Corbin said about Lance Kelly, Bob Farrell was the platform to provide that knowledge being spread about to get the voice out there. Ty Corbin viewed Bob Farrell as the right channel to join onto and be interviewed instead of the likes of Jim Terry. Some people in the background have said because of that maneuver, Jim Terry got triggered. Because as we know, in the past, when it came to Dylan Round's news, breaking news or BS, whichever, because they both could correlate with one another at times, Ty Corbin would go on Jim Terry's channel, right? Or maybe in the latter stages Jim Terry went on to Bob Farrell's channel at the time when Bob was being controlled by Jim and X, and then Ty Corbin called on in, but not through Bob Farrell, but through Jim Terry. Okay, so that's how the order it was back then. But supposedly Ty has parted ways from Jim Terry, though some viewers claim that they are still supporting in the background. Who knows what's going on there? But at least what's happened recently, Ty Corbin in the presence of Bob Farrell, getting the message out there about Lance Kelly. Okay, but during the conversation, there was a point where Ty Corbin said to Bob, and as well, can you take down that photo of Dylan Rounds from your profile, from your channel, the one with the sunflowers, because it's, I think they said, inappropriate or insensitive. And then Ty Corbin then started going on about how people profiting off the case, profiting off dead people with the usage of photos and material like that. I think Ty Corbin was calling out maybe No Thanks and maybe Salty Pancakes and a few other people. Can't remember all the names, okay? What's my thoughts on that? I'll get to that shortly. So, yeah, Ty Corbin. I think Ty was speaking on behalf of Justin Rounds, supposedly. Supposedly Justin maybe telling Ty and then Ty telling Bob to take those photos down, because whilst you're doing your videos and live streams and getting super chats, that supposedly correlates to making money off the Dylan Rounds case and death. I can understand that from Ty Corbin's point of view. I do understand. But if it is also linked with what Justin has had to say, the one who initiated this, I would also understand it from the perspective of the whole misunderstanding of Bob Farrell. But then in my own point of view, I'll just understand it in general based off the content one creates, okay? Now, what I would do to begin with, okay, is depending what situation you're in, if you're covering the Dylan Rounds case, you will have to use material to do with Dylan Rounds, such as in your thumbnail of your videos. You're calling it Dylan Rounds case, Dylan Rounds investigation, map analysis, search for Dylan Rounds. Well, in your thumbnail, you're going to have a photo of Dylan, likely, because it's relevant to the video, the topic, and the case. When people see it on YouTube, they may see the title or they may see the thumbnail first. That's what grabs their attention and makes them learn on the spot as to what the video is actually about. You need to include material like that so the video is relevant and not, as some people like to call it, clickbait, okay? So because of that, I can understand why you would use a photo of Dylan. But I think in this situation with what Ty Corbin is getting at is having Dylan Rounds as your profile picture on YouTube. It could be interpreted maybe as an impersonation. Does that make sense? Not that it's always that way, but normally when you get a profile picture, you would either think, oh, it's a profile picture of the actual individual, kind of like what you may get on LinkedIn. I know that's more formal, but showing your face, your identity of who you actually are behind that profile. And if it's not a photo of you, it'll be a photo of something very random, like a cat, a dog, a donkey, a camel, a waterfall, McDonald's. It could be anything, right? But when it's a profile picture of a person that isn't you, sometimes that can be associated with an impersonation of, the real person, and it could be seen as a bit weird or odd, strange. And of course, I've been the receiving end of that, because the fake accounts of me using the profile of me or my face, it's happened, right? Is that what Bob Farrell is doing here? No. Is that how TY Corbin is interpreting it? No. But I just wanted to highlight it as an example. What seems to be happening here is just more so using material in the name of Dylan, almost like a memorial photo, whilst also making money at the same time, even though the videos that Bob Farrell does and the live streams he makes aren't really about Dylan to begin with. Because for maybe a year now, or just under a year, Bob Farrell hasn't really been covering the Dylan Rounds case to the extent as others, maybe like me, has. When there's been something to talk about, when there's been supposedly breaking news, Bob has made a video or a live stream about it. But for about 20 minutes talking about it, and then the other 1 to 2 hours talking about completely other stuff. So not quite as locked in as other people, but if there's something to talk about, that's what you'll do. In the earlier days, Bob Farrell, with his early YouTube live streams, panels, whatever you want to call it, it was more focused on Dylan. But naturally, as time goes on, there's less and less things to talk about. So that's why you end up branching out and doing your own stuff and discussions. And maybe in these cases, it's been trapped within a cycle of drama unrelated to Dylan, right? But I guess with the continuation of using Dylan's photo, that would be interpreted as a bit odd in a way. At least from what I remember, I know Bob Farrell in the past used the photo of Dylan Rounds as his profile picture or something, but he hasn't for quite some time now. Unless the photo was somewhere else on screen, maybe. I'm not aware because I'm not always looking and I'm not always present, right? So I don't know where the photo of Dylan comes into all this, because I've not seen it in Bob's profile picture for quite some time. Is it to do with Bob's channel page, the background format, or is it to do with the actual videos, live streams, with the panel on the outline of it, Dylan somewhere within the imagery of it? I'm not quite sure, but if that's what TY Corbin is referring to, I kind of understand that. What I would highlight is, okay, if you're a channel that's completely dedicated to one case and you set your channel up from the beginning on that one case, I would understand having the profile picture of that missing individual because it's all about that. But obviously with Bob Farrell's channel, it's not all about Dylan. It can be about Dylan, but also many other discussions and hangouts, conversations with friends and whoever he hangs about, right? Which is a normal thing. But if you were in a situation where you kept that photo of a individual whilst talking about completely unrelated stuff, if people came across the channel and saw, oh, that's Dylan, that's a missing person, maybe this channel is all about that, and then starts hearing about people talking about donkeys, goats, milking, breastfeeding, poles being shoved up. I don't know what else. I don't know what people talk about over there, okay? But unrelated conversations, okay? And it's like, how does that link with this? Oh, but that person is making money, getting super chats. Is that because the person's using the photo of this and that's why they're gaining that? No, that's not the case. But some people may misunderstand it and see a correlation in their mindset that whenever this individual uses a photo of Dylan, they just happen to get money at the same time. That isn't the case here. It's a misunderstanding when people look at Bob. But, you know, I do see where Ty is kind of coming from, you know. But what I want to say is a counterpoint from what I've seen previously. When it came to the Alex Easterling case, there was some people in other communities and areas that for some time decided to have profile pictures of Alex Easterling. I think that was maybe Watcher of Crazy, Sketchy AF, maybe Guidance, maybe Betty Haywood, Kaylee, and a few other people, right? Same profile picture as what you see with Ashley Martin Easterling, the mother of the missing Alex Easterling, right? It was that profile picture, almost like a missing person poster of Alex Easterling. I guess people got together at one point in the past and did it in the name of Alex to spread awareness and in support of the mother, okay? In support of the missing person because they cared. Is that what Bob Farrell is doing? Using a profile picture or photos of Dylan because he supports the case, he cares about Dylan? Isn't it the same thing? Let me know if you agree or disagree down below. Just to summarise, what was done in the past with Alex Easterling and certain YouTube accounts like Kaylee, Guidance, maybe Betty Hayward, Watch Her Crazy, and a few others, using Alex Easterling's missing person poster as their profile picture in support or in solidarity or just to spread awareness of the case. Isn't that what Bob Farrell has done or not? Let me know your thoughts there. If one person can do it, then why can't Bob? Why should Bob be forced to take down a photo of Dylan when other people in other situations weren't forced to do so? Why should Bob be targeted but other people aren't? Okay? If I, in a way, if I am able to use a photo of Dylan Rounds when I'm making relevant videos, then why can't Bob Farrell? Why is Bob Farrell being told he can't do this and he can't do that? Well, there is one factor and one possible idea to put across which could explain it, okay? If it all comes back to Justin Rounds and what he wants, if Justin Rounds doesn't approve of Bob Farrell on YouTube for the photo of Dylan or the sunflowers, I kind of understand it, and it's mainly through a misunderstanding because this could all link back to the whole situation with the fake Bob Farrell account and Justin Rounds, with Justin Rounds being on the receiving end of a fake Bob Farrell account and some other people as well, which have then reached out to Justin Rounds about it, like that younger male, okay? Justin Rounds, with gathering all that and other people, members on the Dylan Rounds page having similar encounters, that fake Bob Farrell account impersonation was acting in negative ways, or at least acting a little bit creepy and maybe showing a form of harassment. So Justin Rounds' outlook on Bob Farrell is a negative outlook. But obviously there's a misunderstanding because what Justin Rounds sees supposedly isn't the real Bob. Maybe if Justin saw the real Bob firsthand, might have a different outlook. But what I'm trying to get at is the original perception Justin Rounds has on that Bob Farrell is negative. So when Justin sees or hears that the real Bob Farrell has a photo or shown support in Dylan's name, Justin doesn't like that because of what he's been on the receiving end of himself. Even though it's not from the same person, as I said, first impressions are quite important, and if you're misguided early on, okay, you might have a warped perception of somebody. And in this case, it's a negative outlook. So anything the real person does may be seen as a negative by the likes of Justin. So anything Bob does here or there in relation to Dylan, Justin may not approve of, right? So I think it stems back partially to that fake account in the background. That's if what TY Corbin is stating to Bob was passed on or passed through by Justin Rounds, okay? If it's just TY Corbin saying take it down, then I would be a little bit like, what's going on here? I think there was some people in Bob Farrell's chat that was trying to throw it back at TY Corbin. Others saying, well, hasn't TY Corbin benefited in some way? Hasn't TY Corbin been elsewhere or been at Jim Terry's? So that back and forth, once again, arguments for and against, it's happened and we've seen it over and over again. But I want to come back to my conclusion on the matter, okay? Having a profile picture of a missing individual for your channel, and if your content doesn't match it, because you're talking about random stuff, I would say it's probably a bit unnecessary. If your channel is dedicated to Dylan rounds for the right reasons, and you just so happen to have a profile picture of Dylan, it would make more sense. But I don't think that's the case with Bob Farrell, because for some time now, most of Bob Farrell's videos aren't about Dylan rounds. They're about conversations, people hanging out, sharing stories, and also responding and talking about the recent drama and conflict. That's mainly it, okay? So with the sunflowers in the background and this and that being added, which is in relation to Dylan rounds because of farming, because of the sunflowers growing stuff. It's in like memory of Dylan, but what's the point having a memorial in memory of somebody when what you're actively doing isn't engaging with the case? It just doesn't quite correlate or make sense, right? The only times when I use like a photo of Dylan rounds, a public official one, publicly out there, take that into mind, you know, they're used only when I'm talking about the Dylan rounds case, or if I'm doing a video in general but there is a strong point to be made in relation to the Dylan rounds case, that's what I'll do. So maybe because I've done it for the right reasons, or I've done it a bit more correctly, it's not caused as much backlash. But let me just mention one thing. Whilst Bob Farrell might have been on the receiving end of TY Corbin being told and given orders of what Bob can do and can't do, yes, Bob has supposedly resisted recently and reinstated the photo of Dylan rounds. And then you've got some of the default profiles going on to TY Corbin's channel and saying, have you heard what Bob Farrell has done? He's gone against your wishes. He's now got Dylan's photo back up. You know, talking behind the scenes and stuff as you would expect. Whilst that has happened, I have been on the receiving end in the past. It's not happened since. And at times in the past, TY Corbin did apologise. Let's just make that clear. In the past, there was misunderstandings, and I guess that's what caused the problem in the first place, a misunderstanding. When I made videos on the Dylan rounds case, sometimes my thumbnails or language confused people. It was a language barrier, that was all. I was in the right, they misinterpreted it, and then claimed I was in the wrong. Okay, it was resolved in the end, they saw their ways. But at moments, TY Corbin falsely accused my thumbnails or titles as being clickbait. False accusations, arguably against YouTube TOS. It's not just TY Corbin, Buster Bratamus did the same thing, and maybe a few others in between, okay? So there's a certain theme of people that may like one another and support one another, and they just so happen to act the same way, misinterpreting language and thumbnails, okay? TY Corbin at least apologised. Buster Bratamus didn't. Typical, okay? But you see, that misunderstanding, being told, oh, that video is this, that's clickbait, that shouldn't be allowed, and it's like, hold on, wait a minute, just take it in, understand, and then you'll learn, right? So it was okay there in the end, but I'm just giving you my experiences and encounters. I've not been told to take down videos, nor have I been told to take down photos of Dylan. But I said, maybe it's because how I do things, it's in the right way, okay? You know, if it's to do with talking about a case or covering a case and people say, oh, this person's making money off of it, it's not directly that this person is making money off of that case. It's just that people out there are just wanting to show a form of support towards that creator that may be talking about the case or for other reasons. Because I think the most important factor is, okay, like with the super chats and stuff, you could make a video talking about, let's say, the Dylan rounds case, and it's a very important, sensitive one or so. You may receive a lot of super chats. That's by people who have made the choice naturally to show support, which should be acknowledged and appreciated because it's their choice. It's good of them to show support. but their reasons behind the super chats may be different to what you think. If you think that, oh, because you're covering a case and you're getting money from it, you're profiting off the dead person. No, people may be, giving super chats or memberships or joining, not because of the case, but because of an alternative reason. They might be having a negative time, or they might not be in a good mood, but these videos or a video may help them as a distraction, as a place of learning, or some form of just distraction against negativity. So they're just showing support in that way. Thank you for taking me away from the darkness. Thank you for giving me a distraction. Thank you for entertaining me. Maybe not directly to do with the case, but just talking in general, right? So it doesn't always mean, it's like when people watch and you get that misunderstanding of, are people here to watch and learn, or are people here to watch and cause disruption, or are people here just to listen in the background but just hang out with one another? There's different reasons as to why different people show up in these live premieres, just like in other people's channels and chats. So that would be similar, right, and apply to how people show support for numerous reasons, whether it be support to the channel that covers the case, or people that show support to that channel because it helps them as an individual. There's more than one reason. Now, that might not apply to Bob Farrell's situation, but it can apply to other channels out there. So I think some people here and there may be a bit one-dimensional in their outlook on stuff. That's all I would say, okay? So we've talked about that. Let me know your comments down below. I mean, I don't know if I will do. Depends who's present and what the situation is like right now. But, if you want a poll, maybe there could be a small poll, possibly, if I'm present in the live premiere or not. If I'm present, maybe a poll can be done, such as, do you think Bob Farrell should take down the Dylan Rounds photo or photos, or should he be allowed to keep him up? Let me know your thoughts there. As said, because other people have been able to do so, and in different cases, then why can't Bob? But then in against that, with what Bob does and covers, is it all about and for Dylan? No. So how does it relate? It doesn't always, okay? So maybe a form of negotiation could take place. You take down the photos of Dylan, but you only use them when you're actually making a video about Dylan or the case in general. I think that would make the most sense, wouldn't it? So with that being said and done, let's just move on to the next talking point. The next talking point would be the theme of taking sides, and supposedly Bob Farrell has had some negative run-ins, or Bob's outlook on people has changed with some out there that may have been elsewhere recently on other channels, such as Jim Terry, a live stream here, a live stream there, not present no more, been taken down because some people have suggested it's to do with ban evading or something, whatever, okay? But for the presence of Jim Terry being on YouTube and people watching along, right? Why are they there? Trying to understand that. I don't need to understand it completely because I'm not in that mess. But Bob Farrell, Twin Mama, with their community and audience members, some of which, in the eyes of them, have gone rogue or have shown their true colours of loyalty. And we've talked about loyalty. We talk about side taking, the theme and topic of today, because it can be a general discussion. It doesn't just apply to the Bob Farrell, the Twin Mama community. It can apply, worldwide and across different communities and platforms. But what I will say is, in general, the state of everything and the way it's gone, I'd arguably say things are back to square one, right? Not the very beginning of the Dylan Rounds case where everybody's laughing, getting on well, but basically what you saw in 2022 onwards, when there was all the drama and it was starting to unfold, I would say that's where we are. Well, not we, because I'm not a part of it, am I? But that's where all the other people are back to square one, right? You got the divisions, You got the re-emergence of people. It's going downhill once again, right? Whether that directly links to the Dylan Brown's case or not, it seems like back to square one. Let me know your thoughts there. I think it's not as much to do with Dylan as it was back then, so that's a positive at least. It kind of lessens the risk of the Dylan Brown's case being calmed, which is fine, okay? We'll see how things go. But, you know, you got the likes of Bob Farrell, Twin Mama, teaming up, but then against all the others. You got the likes of Fumblenuts and that community teaming up as well with Twin Mama Bob Farrell. But then you got Jim Terry coming on back and Mr. X with their actions or so. Then you got Salty Pancakes as well, creeping on in, reaping all of the conflict that's going on and covering it themselves, or maybe stirring the pot, right? And then a few individual people hovering about within the communities, the YouTube streets, if that's what you want to call it, right? So it's just been all unearthed once again. Maybe not completely broken up yet, and as for religions, it's not exactly returning back to where they originally came from, but as for people at heads with one another, it's like that all over again, as you would expect. You know, you were present in 2022, if you walked away at the end of 2022 and only just walked back, returned now, you'd think, oh, it looks like I've never left. Not much has changed, really, in a way. You know what I'm saying? So, with what's gone on and what's happening, the theme of side taking, picking a side, probably is at an all-time high. As for other creators out there who would like to know, what side are you on, right? Now, when it comes to my opinion of taking sides, does it differ from being a creator to being an audience member? I'd say so, right? A creator, a channel, or a community, there may be a leader or a person in charge. And yes, it does sound like a hierarchy, that, but if a person creates a space, a community for others to gather, then it would make sense. Someone has created that opportunity and audience members have gathered into a space, a safe space, or just a place where you just hang out and have some fun, right? I'd say there's more pressure on viewers than there is with creators when it comes to having to pick a side, okay? Because a creator relies on an audience for whatever reasons, whether it be for growth of a channel, whether it be for some form of support, or whether it be just to have someone at your back to defend you if things get messy. It's like going to war, right? Sounds a bit silly, but it's kind of like that, a microcosm of you might have a leader, a commander, who then has an army behind them. You go to war. But before you go to war, you need to know what resources you have and who is present. Because if you go into war blindly, with not checking what you have, there may not be many people backing you. So then you're vulnerable, and then you're prone to getting obliterated, right? So like with YouTube, when it does come to these community situations of drama and conflict, you'll have creators maybe at each other's necks, maybe audience members too. Maybe how it's normally initiated will be between a creator and another creator, two different communities and channels. And then they go at war with one another. And somewhere like what we have here with multiple different communities, it's like a free-for-all in a way, right? So with such carnage and mess, you need a form of stability, and that is knowing who's present and who isn't, who supports you or who stands by your side and who doesn't, right? Is it that black and white? There's a middle option, and that comes in with the whole, are you on the fence about the whole situation? The people who may be on the fence, neutral, will maybe people that audience members where they go to one community because they like it there, or the people, audiences over there, but then they also come back to here. And maybe they branch out elsewhere too, right? They like multiple people, multiple communities, multiple content maybe, right? But as for that sole creator who knows about it, it might not sit well with them. And I think that's what's happened with Bob Farrell, Twin Mama in recent time, right? So at the end of the day, there might be more pressure on the general public, on audience members to pick a side at times when that creator demands an answer. But I do understand that audiences, people watching, shouldn't be forced to pick a side. If they can pick a side naturally, just like how people naturally show support through super chats and super stickers, if it can work like that, well then that's great, isn't it? People are naturally picking a side, which is a positive. Might not be for some because they might find out, oh, that person is choosing the opposition. I feel betrayed. But at least you know where you stand with them from now on. It's moments of uncertainty where it could aggravate people. We need an answer. We need to know, are you with us or against us? And they make it sound black and white. But I said, as a neutral, you want to sit on the fence, or you just don't want to get involved with any of it because you don't want anyone getting hurt, because you like multiple people and channels which are all at war with one another. By you picking a side or feeling forced to pick a side would then mean you feeling like you've betrayed somebody. You feel like you've betrayed a community out there. So it does make it at times an awkward situation to be in if you're a viewer and if you support multiple channels and they're all at war with one another. How do you pick a side? It's not always possible to do so. And if you are forced to pick a side, besides feeling like you've betrayed somebody, if those communities and channels hear about it and then take it the wrong way, you kind of alienate yourself, or they alienate you and you get pushed away. So you end up losing out as well, simply as a viewer. So it is an awkward situation to be in, and maybe at times it's not fair. Has that happened to the likes of Dale and Matt Lingo recently? Well, it can be interpreted as, yeah, they've been put in an unfair situation of having to pick a side, or through a misunderstanding, it's already been presumed that they have picked a side when they haven't really, and there's been a negative backlash because of it, and it's kind of gone to shit since, okay? So we'll tie in my thoughts of Dale and Matt Lingo shortly, but is there anything else to add on? Well, I'll give it from my point of view, okay? I wouldn't say I've been at war with people in that way, okay? I've been on the receiving end of stuff where I've got to defend myself, right? So that's happened. When I have found out or seen that people are showing their true colours and they've gone or been elsewhere towards those channels and creators that have caused me trouble, it just feel a bit negative and, what would you call it, disappointing. If it was sudden and instant, it wouldn't be an issue. If someone's here and then suddenly they're there, they never return back and they make it clear, okay? They've picked their side, okay, that's it. I know who they are now. I know what they are, okay? The people that are on the fence, if they were neutral, let's say, if I got into a sticky situation with another creator out there and people who are neutral on the fence about it because they may also participate over there, I would understand as to why they wouldn't want to get too involved, so they stand back, okay? But would I feel like I need an answer from them? No. Maybe the only clarity I would appreciate would be, okay, if you're going to be neutral, you're going to sit on the fence, hopefully you stick with that approach. If it's a bit you know, where you kind of switch and change. Right, I'll support that person in them attacking that other individual. Then I think I'll transition on over to the previous individual whilst the other person's attacking back. I'll just switch and change in between. That type of stuff kind of ties in with the lack of loyalty, but in a, I don't know, a two-faced way. Those type of people don't really have time for. But just simple, neutral individuals who don't want to get involved with the conflict because they don't want to get harmed or they don't want others to get harmed. They don't really support that. They'll just step back for a bit. That's fine. I understand. At the end of the day, from the perspective of the creator, like a content creator or someone that's set up a community out there, it's important for them to know where audience members stand for and against or just not participating. It's important to know, just so you're aware. That's all it is. That's all that really matters. Just being aware of the environment, the situation, and the people around. That's it. Then you know how to proceed forwards, right? But I guess with other communities out there, how they've taken it or responded back, they may have started calling out people, name calling or outright pushing people away or something. Different reactions from different people, depending on the situation, okay? And I guess Dale, Matt Lingo, just a few examples have got caught up in it and they might have been blocked elsewhere or timed out or silenced, pushed away. It's happened. With those type of individuals, has it happened here in the same way? No, but there was a misunderstanding in the past which led to them partially, temporarily, stepping back from this channel at a time where it was perceived or misunderstood through completely other stuff. It wasn't to do with taking sides. It might have been to do with the theme of taking stuff seriously and other times not, right? And trying to understand that. The understanding wasn't quite there at the time, but the understanding has been complete now, right? So my outlook on Matt Lingo and Dale, they move about from different channel to different channel. They make the choice themselves and they hang in places where people they get on well with do. Okay, so that's one of the driving forces and factors. If their friends or contacts are over here, they'll probably come on over as well. One of the factors. What about the video? The video itself, the actual theme, talking point, might not be the key directing factor unless the video was aimed at them in a positive way, a funny way, or maybe a serious video. If they see their names pop up, that might be another reason as to why they hop on over to see what it's all about and what's being talked about them, let's just say, positive or negative, right? The videos that I have done, obviously, when they came on over and heard about my channel was when I was participating in the Dylan Rounds case and community. They were there because their friends were, and the people they supported or followed as for channels were also involved in the Dylan Rounds case at the time. It is what it is, okay? Now, just in general, it doesn't apply to Dale, Matt Lingo exclusively. It can apply to anyone. Whilst Bob Farrell, Twin Mama, might be all about, we want to know, are you with us or against us? And they see that Matt Lingo and Dale are against them when that may not be the case. Dale, Matt Lingo are just neutral in the situation, supposedly. I'm different. I'm not all about, are you with me or against me? It's more, are you here to take notes or not? That's all I was about. And you would have seen me at times where I was saying, focus, focus, take this in, or try to take notes or something, right? Did it come across as forceful, pushy? I don't think to that extreme. But Dale, Matt Lingo, present, not for the video, not for the theme, not for Dylan, but they're there to have a good time and to hang out with one another and be light-hearted. So those type of people can be very useful when there's moments of darkness, negativity. Are they peacemakers? No. But are they there to act as a distraction? Let me just explain very quickly before people misunderstand that label. I'm not saying that they're causing distractions for the wrong reasons. Again, I'm saying that when bad stuff is going on, if you can have a distraction in a positive way to take away that darkness and bring in a bit more humour, the likes of Dale and Matt Lingo can provide that. Okay? But referring back to my encounters, the reason why, whether it be towards Dale or Matt Lingo, at a time when I thought they were participating directly in the Dylan Rounds case, I've learned as time's gone on, I just wanted for them to take it in, not everything, but just certain points. And it wasn't just them, it could be anyone present. Only because I thought that what I found or picked up on was very important and it may help people learn. So if I was under the understanding that people are here because they may be interested in the case in some way or another, wouldn't it be good if those key moments you were able to listen in to take notes of very important findings, right? So when I felt like focus was shifting away, I just wanted to bring people back on track, okay? And obviously through misunderstandings back then, it kind of led to just short-term conflict, which no longer is the problem, right? So I'm aware Matt Lingo and Dale, they go where they want, where they choose to, and are just there to have a good time. And with learning that it's not just my videos, when it comes to the video not quite matching up with the chat box, it applies elsewhere. It's not just me. Other channels out there for different reasons, right? So at a time of, or times of, where Bob Farrell's channel, there's been drama, there's been conflict, there's been arguments, responses to the likes of Jim Terry and others out there, Salty Pancakes, whilst they're talking about serious topics and subjects, you look at the chat, it's not just Matt Lingo, it's not just Dale, it's Leanne, it's Fast Eddie, and many other people casually talking, laughing and joking, right? So what I'm trying to say is Matt Lingo and Dale aren't really the problem. They're not. Matt Lingo and Dale are consistent in messing around. In other terms, Matt Lingo and Dale are good at pissing about but entertaining one another and others who may need some form of positivity, lightheartedness. Not everyone will think that way, I understand, and there'll be some people here that are all about Dylan Rounds that may see Dale, Matt Lingo not in the same light. So I understand that as well. It is a balancing act. It's not always possible. But if the likes of Bob, Twin Mama and others are singling out Matt Lingo and Dale, well, what about all the other people in the community that may joke around as well? Maybe people have different ideas, or what do you call it, breaking points, right? So if something petty goes on in a community, audience members may laugh at it and joke, but the creator may take it very seriously. Then some more bad stuff happens in the future, but it escalates. A few people in the chat take it a bit more seriously. and then something else happens, then something else happens, and with time, the boundaries are getting pushed, right? The person causing the problems are really overstepping the mark to the point where some in the community that were taking it as a joke to begin with are now seeing it as a threat, a problem, a serious thing that shouldn't have happened, and are in agreement with the creator. So everybody has their different breaking points, or I don't know what the other word is because I can't think on the spot. Okay, some quick drink. I forgot the word for it. You have different levels, different tolerance levels, right? Different tolerance levels that some people may think that's okay and others don't. But then later on, both see this as a problem. It's in intervals. Not everybody sees things the same way to begin with, but eventually they do. But maybe that's where the misunderstanding is with the Bob Farrell twin mama situation of serious stuff has happened recently. Community members have heard about it and have stepped up in support, whilst Matt Lingo Dale and maybe others over time aren't following in the same direction immediately. But maybe in time, if it feels like to them something has been stepped across the line, across the marker, boundaries have been broken, then they may follow along eventually and say, you know what, yes, they have gone too far, they have pushed the limits, that's not right. And to be honest, that actually does apply, I guess, recently, okay? If we're talking about limits being pushed, overstepping the mark, right? Bob Farrell twin mama believes, or at the time believed, that the likes of Matt Lingo, Dale, and a few others weren't joining on in support, and they felt betrayed by that. Well, recently, Matt Lingo and Dale have responded in a serious way, acknowledging that Bob Farrell has overstepped the mark. As I said, different tolerance levels of different stuff. It's okay to say this, but saying that, that's a step too far. It's different with everyone. Just try and understand that. So, in relation to that call with TY Corbin on Bob Farrell's live stream recently, and TY Corbin said that Lance Kelly has been getting intimate with a 16-year-old, but as for the regulations and the state, it's legal or something. Bob Farrell supposedly made a joke because he did laugh. Bob Farrell said, "Oh, is that so? I best head on down there tomorrow." Kind of implying that Bob Farrell wants to have the opportunity of getting intimate with a 16-year-old. But Bob was saying it in a joking way. But in the eyes of other people out there, some have seen it as Bob was being serious and that he meant it. And others have interpreted it as that's a very bad joke in poor taste. I think we could also dial it back and just say, well, let's just remember Jim No Limits Terry. He can say this, he can say that, he can do this, and he can do that. And then someone like Leanne in the background will be laughing and joking, half serious and half laughing. She's not called out for it. Jim Terry, he does what he does, and that's what's expected because of his behaviour. And even if it is bad and dark and evil, whatever, it's to be expected. Is it to be expected from Bob Farrell? Maybe not, and that might be why some people were taken back by it. But you start picking and choosing as to, not to do with tolerance levels, but you pick and choose as to who can do it and who can't. I don't know, is that a bit hypocritical or something? Having correlation to how, in the past, I was allowed to defend myself against Salty Pancakes and Jim Terry, but the moment I defended myself against Bob Farrell, certain audience members said, no, that's a step too far. You shouldn't be doing that. Why can't I defend myself against that person? Oh, it's because you support them, but you don't support the others, which I defended myself against. So you saw that as a free pass. That's just very two-faced picking and choosing, and that's where one of the problem lies, okay? But what I'm getting at is there's times and moments where even if Matt Lingo and Dale may be messing about in a light-hearted way, and maybe there's moments where things need to be taken seriously, but they're not because they don't want to get involved, or they're completely, not even aware of what's going on. They're just simply chatting and having fun with other people in the chat away from the video and the audio. That even the likes of Matt Lingo and Dale do have their boundaries. So like with the Bob Farrell situation, because elsewhere, I can't remember where, but elsewhere on a different community, it might have been BJ. I think it was BJ's live stream recently, where either Matt Lingo, Dale, both at the same time or one after another, did come on to explain their side of the story as to what's happened, being timed out by Buster Bratimus, being silenced. What's the point being there if I'm not welcome and if I'm silenced? I might as well leave. That's kind of like what Matt Lingo was getting at. Okay, fair point. And that's where Matt Lingo and Dale brought it up about Bob Farrell, talking about the let's go down to that state because being with a 16-year-old is legal. And whilst it might have been a joke, maybe Matt Lingo Dale thought, that's a bit of a weird thing to say. It doesn't portray a good look either, considering, I guess, age difference of Bob compared to a 16-year-old. Seems like pushing the boundaries. So, just as an example, Dale, Matt Lingo do take things seriously at times. So, when they feel that something has gone wrong or something isn't right, they will address and acknowledge it. But it may not tie in line with the expectations of a creator that demands an answer right now. Does that make sense? Hopefully I don't need to explain myself again. I'm trying to make it as clear as possible, okay? As said, I've never been in a situation where I've demanded an answer from Dale or Matt to say, what side are you on? You go where you need to go and do what you need to do. If there is talking behind my back, I'm just simply disappointed in that individual. Has that happened with Matt Lingo and Dale? I don't know. That's it, okay? But for the times they've been present in the chat, in the eyes of others, where they may say they've not focused, they may not be focused to the video that I'm making, but they are trying to be positive and light-hearted, just to, I don't know, get the energy going, improve the mood. It can help. It can. I can't really think of any other examples there. But, Matt Lingo as well has shown support to the channel in the past, so that can be acknowledged as well. So I think there was a time as well in the past where Matt Lingo was showing support and also may have added a super chat or super sticker saying thanks for allowing free speech or just the platform or the community to talk and hang out and mess about and stuff. So there's acknowledgement there, which is a good thing. And Dale's shown support in being a cheerleader whilst wearing Laura's clothes. I guess it's the thought that counts. But that aside, being serious, I don't demand or expect people picking sides. I just like to know where maybe people stand on a situation. No pressure or anything like that, but it just makes the situation easier, right? Because if you're in the unknown, the uncertainty of it, you end up like the situation I was in, where I defended myself against different people, and the only time I saw people's true colours is when I then decided to say this or that and react or defend myself against this community, and then some of the audience members that were present made it clear what they thought and felt about it. But if I knew earlier on where people's mindsets were at, maybe videos or responses could have been adjusted a bit differently to reduce that backlash, but you're not going to know at the time if people aren't exactly as transparent. Does that make sense? So yes, in general, in conclusion, that the concept of choosing and picking a side is important maybe to the creator at times of warfare, but as for the eyes of the general public, may feel forced or pressured into having to pick a side instead of being able to just sit back, watch and enjoy. It's a tricky situation depending on the situation you're in. There'll be others out there that won't give a fuck about it and say, oh, I don't care, I'll watch in the background. That's the thing. For those that may watch in the background and not really participate in the chat or on panel, whilst it may seem restrictive, it does definitely reduce a lot of problems, right? You can support, you can watch anyone, right? Without being forced to pick a side. But, you know, different approaches by different people. Was there anything else to add on in general? Don't think so. I think I managed to explain most of it today. As said, there's quite a few boxes that have been ticked as for why I made this video. Future predictions are, if this late on, after all these years, you can resort back to square one, then anything is possible with these drama, these YouTube streets, these communities of all kinds of stuff going on, right? Regardless of who's in the right and who's in the wrong. But will it become a massacre? And at what cost, right? Time wasted or people hurt along the way? What's the kill count going to be? Not literally. What's the amount of blood loss that will occur, or the amount of energy and sweat wasted? I wonder. Now, all I would say is, with a range of these communities that may be at heads with one another, and that includes Salty Pancakes in the background, Jim Terry, the other communities, and others and others and others, if they weren't doing drama or defending themselves or responding back to conflict, what else would they be doing? Maybe not as much. Are people going to say, well, that means that they rely on that drama? I don't know, okay? But at least when reflecting back onto my channel, whilst I may have got involved or dragged into some unnecessary stuff, I also was able to walk away from it. And even if you want to just focus on Dylan Rounds, I focused on it so much that it kind of became a routine of the timing of doing it and day by day and stuff and appearing at the live premieres. Yeah, it kind of did become a routine and maybe a bit too much at times, but it needs to be done. But the key thing is, when it stopped or slowed down, I was able to walk away from it or step back and then do other stuff or continue on with previous things, right? But when you get others out there that are all about something, that if you take that away, what do they have then? Do they have anything? Can they think of anything else? Maybe not. So that's why some people are in repetitive cycles, because they need it, like a life support machine. And that's just talking in general, okay? Anything else going on in the background? Might be, but I hear about it less and less now because it's not directly tied with Dylan Rounds, but with the recent thing with TY Corbin and Bob Farrell, that was in the name of Dylan, so, you know, that stood out more. It's about like keywords, right? Keywords or names are what can attract people, bring some in over time for the right or wrong reasons, whether they respond back positively or negatively, right? So, all in all, hopefully people stuck around long enough to understand this video and what it was really all about. And hopefully Matt, Lingo, Dale understand this video. It's not like a video where you've got to take points or you've got to be a certain way. It's just me explaining it from how I see things, okay? So hopefully Matt, Lingo, Dale saw the positives within this video. I only say that because not everybody joins live premieres at the same time. They may join at the time of where I'm maybe talking negatively, and they just assume that it's all negative. But positives were mentioned before and later. As I said, you stick around long enough, you'll understand these type of videos, okay? Does it lead to backlash? Does it lead to responses or talking behind the back? Maybe, yeah, it will, but it happens. Kenny Veach videos on the way, of course. Just hope that I'm in the situation I am right now where I'm not coughing as much, okay? I mean, you know, you talk for over an hour constantly with 0 cuts or edits. You're going to cough at some point, I get that. When I do the Kenny Veach ones, I'm not talking continuously for as long, so it's not as bad there. But if I am coughing, I'll just get to that point where I'm like, you know what, I'll just talk and talk and talk, and then once I feel like the cough has died down a bit, then I can hit the record button. Because I can't just keep delaying or postponing stuff just because of a cough, right? I'll have to try and find another way around it, okay? But hopefully you enjoyed this video or found it somewhat interesting. If you wanted to take notes, you can do so, or you want to rewind back, you can. Predictions, just basically that if you can get back to square one after all this time, then anything's possible, and likely the conflict will drag on for as long as people are around and alive for. And if some rely on the drama and conflict, well, they're going to be the last ones standing then. They're going to grip onto it for as long as they can because it works for them, right? Because that's the final point. Some people can rely on drama as a form of growing themselves through a channel, through stats and numbers. They can be considered successful because of it, but also dependent on it. The strengths and weaknesses, but if it works for them, they're going to do whatever they can to make it work and to keep it working, right? So those are the people you got to be looking out for and cautious of. If you feel that there are certain communities out there constantly causing trouble or stirring the pot or making phone calls or invading other channels and really pushing it to get a reaction or to cause trouble, it's because they are dependent and rely on that source. Be the disruptor, get the reaction, start a war and get lasting and going for as long as possible because they're growing in the background, right? Like with video games, if they go to shit, they're no longer as good, the quality and the features and things added unnaturally. It will only continue and there won't be change if people keep voting with their wallets. You stop buying a game, you know, more likely changes will be made because those companies out there will realise, oh, we're not making any money now. Maybe we need to listen to the general public, make the changes, and then everybody's happy, right? Won't quite be a happy ending here, unless it's a happy ending for Dale or Matt Lingo if they go through the wrong door into a massage parlour, which makes absolutely no sense, but if you have been around long enough with that map analysis, it makes total sense. Was that in Graham, Louisiana? Grahamtown? It was. Will Graham ever show up again? I don't know. Maybe he got locked in the shed. I think someone needs to let him out. Not as many people have been locked in the cage, though, on his channel since. I don't know. Wes, why have you not been locking anyone in cages? I want to know an answer on that. But that aside, we'll leave it there for now, and that should be it. That's this theme and topic talking point now complete, just like the previous ones. We'll see what happens next. Thanks for watching, goodbye, and good night for now.